Good morning, everyone. I hope your weekend went as well as mine. I'm aware that the live stream that had initially been planned for this weekend did not happen. It was WrestleMania weekend. I completely forgotten. But I do watch at least that every year. I am a wrestling fan, so I don't really get to watch it all the time. This is like one of those times where I get to take out some time and just watch, and that's exactly what I did. Also, I hope you got in on the Heathen Soul Lore Foundation's book, as this weekend was the absolute last days for that to happen. Go there. And if you did, I would hope you would let me know. That way we can begin your readings, however many were in the tier that you did. If you don't want the readings, you can pass them to someone else as a gift. That is totally permissible. And if it has to wait a while, that's fine. You know, I understand birthdays and things like that are coming up. So, how was your weekend? Hope it was good. Mine was good. It was pretty nice. Okay, so, let's talk about a little something. From this book right here, Letters to a Starseed by Rebecca Campbell. One of the things that I like to talk about, we have talked about on this channel, your gifts. And I know there are some of you out there who have no idea what your gifts are. You just literally have no clue. Well, let me tell you. Often our soul gifts whisper to us and reveal themselves in the following ways. Number one, they're the things that come naturally to us. Number two, they're the things that light us up and make us come more alive. Number three, they're the things that make time seem to stand still and stretch, and we choose to do them even when no one else is looking, regardless of whether or not we're rewarded for doing them. And number four, sometimes, but not always, they're the things that might be unexpected or require us to step outside the obvious path or plan. So, you came into this life with a clear soul plan and gifts that you've been crafting for lifetimes. This is the part of you that longs to be seen and is ready to emerge. If you ever feel unprepared or daunted by the path that's calling you, perhaps you've been training for this path, this moment, for lifetimes. You're so much more than the days that have breathed through you in this life. You are also all of the lifetimes and experience that have come before. All of these have shaped you and continue to do so and made you, you. And I'm not entirely certain as to why that was so important, but I do know that this morning there was a real pull toward that book and a real pull toward that chapter, and as I flipped through the pages, it just, without the bookmark in place, of course, I just kind of did this and said stop. And there it was. So, obviously a message I needed to get out to you, and I hope that, hope it's made some sense. But let's look at these Moonology cards for Moonology Monday. And first thing first, you've got a full moon. Just a regular, plain Jane full moon. And don't you know that sometimes the regular and plain Jane and unassuming packs so much? And this one tells you surrender to the divine. So today, that is exactly what you're doing. We're going to see why we got that card. We've got a new moon in Libra. Pisces. Right now, we're in a waxing crescent. We just came through a new moon. But you do have new romantic cycle begins. Now, that could be your love life. That could be. It could be any number of things. Ladies and gentlemen, we fall in love with different things in our lives. One of the things I pointed out, the reason why I like certain things, want to talk D&D for just a minute? I promise you it'll only be just a minute. The reason I love this game is because for years there were people trying to keep me in fear of it. And when I played it for the first time, I fell out of fear with it. I fell in love with it. When you fall in love with something, there's nothing to fear. It has a tendency to stay on the mind, and it has a tendency to really kind of fill a little part of your life that maybe you weren't even aware that there was a void there. But let's move on to this new moon. It says a new start is coming. So we've got new cycles pretty much everywhere here. We know that this is the start of a brand new month. We're a few days into it. You know, no big deal. These messages are still very relevant. Also, meditate and contemplate. With that new moon in Pisces. So we're looking at some new emotions. We're looking at dealing with some new emotional starts today. And there's nothing wrong with that. What we have to remember is we need to come from a place, we need to come from a source where we're lit up, we're excited, we're feeling great, and we want to spread that. We really want to come from a positive place so we can spread that to others. If we're coming from a negative place like having a case of the Mondays, I can relate, trust me, then watch how quickly that case of the Mondays can spread to others. And let me tell you, when your case of the Mondays spreads to others, guess what? It will come back to you. But if you're coming from that place of positivity, that also will come back to you. We're dealing with a very small scale of things right now. We're just dealing with us, you, me, everyone else. Come from that place of positivity today, even if you're just not feeling it. Take a few minutes to take a breath. Really breathe in the good shit. Breathe out the bullshit. You know, it doesn't matter what happened last week. Last week's over. The question is, and this happened, this is why you should really follow me on High Notes. The week before, the rune of the week was Thurisaz, which was conflict and challenges. Last week's was Kanaz, and we're still in that cycle, so until Wednesday, we won't reveal a new rune of the week. But the point of this is, moving from Thurisaz into Kanaz, Thurisaz was that conflict and challenges, Kanaz is that enlightenment and fulfillment. The question that arises from the transition of one to the other was, what did you learn from the conflict and the challenges? Those are the absolute best. They're the best lessons to learn. Speaking of which, one of the things that I've learned is that I'm fairly good at April Fool's Day jokes. So on April 1st, I walked into work and kind of contemplated a few things and tried to make a mental list of what to look out for, because you never know. Someone may be trying to get one over on you. And I walked into my store manager's office and I said, we need to talk. And I started with this story of me hanging out with some friends online, talking about, RPGs, and of course, did a few voices, because in this voice of mine, I can do the ultimate villain. So I gave off a few villainous voices and told him that I'd received an email that I thought was a scam, but it turns out it wasn't. It was legit, and it was from a talent agency who had heard snippets of my little voice, and they really wanted to represent me, and they already had something for me to consider. Right then, he turned. he's at a desk and he's typing something. He finishes up, then he turns and he gives me his complete attention, and I was like, "Yep, there we go." So I laid on the rest of the story about how I had been invited to take this job running Dungeons and Dragons games in Philadelphia, and I would be on a streaming channel on Plex, which the streaming channel actually exists. And I could see the look on his face was that of, oh no, I'm about to lose another tech, Jesus. And this couldn't come at the worst time. And it's true, we're short-handed. We are short-staffed at work. We are, really kind of trying to do what we can to keep up. It's gotten kind of crazy. So he's like, so what are you thinking this? I think I'm going to take it. I said, I can't pass this up. It's too good. And as I finished, he said, "Good for you, man. That's awesome." I said, and when he said, "That's awesome," I was like, now's the time. I went, yeah, it really is. Well, it would be if any of that were true. April Fool. Then the look on his face was that of shock, and he went, "I want my 10 minutes back." Needless to say, fun. It was a good laugh. It was a very good laugh, but if perhaps you were caught up in something similar, perhaps you learned something. What was it? Hope it was have a good sense of humor. Today you may need it. But that is all I have for today. Really reflect. Think about last week. Think about those lessons that came from last week. Think about all the conflict and the challenges that you've had. And what have you learned from them? What are those lessons that are helping you to grow as a person? Because that is what's most important today. Remember to have a good sense of humor. Remember to embrace those two polar opposites, the two extremes of life. We've got those right here, full and new moon. We're building from here to here. But this is you today. You are that full moon, you are lit up, you are ready to go. And if not, then these are the things that you need to consider. Nothing wrong with falling in love with life, ladies and gentlemen. Happens to everybody, at least once. If you're loving life today, then you know that the new start is right here. Right here, right now. Aries, it's the first sign of the zodiac. And we are in the last of the new moons in Aries. So, remember, I love you all. Thank you so much for joining me. Take care of yourselves and each other. Always do what lights you up the most at every opportunity. And as always, my friends, shine on.